One thing I've found with React writing after writing it for maybe about 2.5 years now is I feel like it makes me a better JavaScript developer because sometimes things in React seem a little bit harder than they should be, but I think as a rule of thumb, there are some weird things in it, but as a rule of thumb, I think that those are forcing me to become a much better JavaScript developer. So what we're going to do right now is talk about something called prop types. And now with prop types, every time you have a component, you are often passing in some sort of data. And how do you pass data into a component? With props. Well, with prop types, we can sort of validate the data that is being passed in to make sure that we're passing the right kind of data, the data that it's looking for, and the data that is being passed in, that it actually looks the way that we're expecting it to be passed in. So what we're going to do is let's open up our header.js here, and you'll notice that we use props.tagline right here. Now, if I was on a team that was doing React components and I built this thing and then I handed it off to somebody else to actually use it, how do they know that this component called header takes a prop called tagline and then that prop is a string, right? Other than short of opening it up, they don't really know that unless I have to have some sort of documentation. So what prop types allows us to do is specify ahead of time what needs to be passed in when it's used. And if someone doesn't pass in the right type of data or the right amount of data, then we're going to give them a warning in their console telling them that they failed their prop type. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to import prop types, capital P, capital T, from, and this is in a separate package called prop-types. This used to be built into React. However, because some users use other ways to do type checking, so some other ways you can do type checking is you could use a typed language to write your JavaScript like TypeScript, or you could use one of Facebook's utilities called Flow, which allows you to ahead of time declare what the props are that are being passed in. And then prop types are sort of the third way that we can do it. And that's why it's in a separate package, because it's not every project that will be using prop types. So we'll go down here, we'll take our header and we will add the prop types. So this is lowercase p, capital T, and that's just going to be an object. Now, all you have to do now is pass it every single prop that you need. In our case, it's just tagline. And then you tell it which type you're expecting. And the way that we do that is we say prop types dot, and then we tell it, and this is kind of cool, my autocomplete is showing me all of the possible options, and this should always be passed in as a string. And then you can also tack in a optional is required onto the end, which will tell you if it's required or not. So if I give that a save now and I go back and open up my DevTools, you'll see that there's nothing showing up in here. But if I were to go into my app.js and then take off the tagline prop, watch what's going to happen. And now it starts to yell at us. Prop tagline is marked as required in header, but its value is undefined. So that means you did not pass a tagline prop. Good. Well, what if I were to say maybe the tagline is equal to true? Like we're passing it as a Boolean. It's going to start complaining at us. It got a Boolean, but it was expecting a string, right? Or if I pass in a number, it's going to yell at us for, we got a number, but we were expecting you to give us a string. You kind of get the point here. As you use it, before I even have to crack open this file to see what's wrong, it will give me a really good warning in the console. Now, these will not make it to production. So for whatever reason, if you deploy this to production, it's not going to give you this error in it. So it's just sort of a development helper that we have. So I'm going to bring that tagline back here. And what we're going to do now is go through all of our different components that we have written in this course so far and start writing props for them. So there's some documentation here for what the different types of prop types are. Obviously, you have your all of the types that come along with React. So array, bool, and func. Those are reserved words in JavaScript. So you have to use bool instead of boolean and func instead of function. The rest of them are what you'd expect. However, you can also expect somebody to pass you another component. You can expect people to pass you a node or an element. You can expect to pass one of the things. So it could be either be a string, a number, or an instance of the message component. And then there's another one here. This is a shape. This is what we're going to use as well, because I find this one particularly helpful when passing objects that need to look a certain way. So let's go, let's just go into fish.js and do that one first. So at the top of it, we'll import prop types from prop dash types. And you notice how I put that above this? I always like to import my NPM packages first and then import my relative paths after that. And then I don't have to mix and match them. Then what we'll do is, since this is not a, like this one was, what's the name for this type of component? That's a stateless functional component. We need to do it after the fact like this. Now, this one is a regular React component. So we can simply just put a static property called prop types and put an object on there. The reason why that is static is because we're declaring the prop types for all of the fish. And every single time that we make a new fish, it's not necessary to duplicate those prop types to every single one if they're going to be exactly the same for every single component. So by putting it static, it sort of lives on the mama fish component, and we are not unnecessarily copying those prop types to every single instance since they're going to be exactly the same. Now, what are the props that we have here? Well, we are passing in, and the way you can tell is I always like to just search for this.props, and we've got this.props.details and add to order. So we'll go up here, we'll say details, and we need add to order. So let's do add to order first, since that's going to be very simple. Let's look here. It's going to be a function. So we'll take this prop types.func, and then the details is going to be, well, what is it going to be? Details is going to have the image, the name, the price, the description, and the status. So this is a little bit weird because of course we could go and say prop types dot object, and it would pass with flying colors. See, no errors there. But that's a bit of a cheat because like that's just saying you pass in any object, and this would not work if I didn't pass in an object that consisted of these 5 things. So what we can do is, instead of just saying an object, we can give it a prop types.shape. And a shape is a function that accepts an object, and these are where we're going to specify what all of the different properties actually are. So we have an image, name, price, description, and status. And I'm going to move price to the bottom here because all of these are going to be pretty simple. It's going to be prop types dot string, and then price is going to be a number. And this is, I really like this one. I probably use this one the most out of anything because when I'm passing values to a component, it's almost always I'm passing an object full of data that needs to be displayed. So that's why I like to pass it as a shape, and then it checks that the object you are sending it will have all of these properties with those types being added in. Good, so that is fish, and if you'd like to pause this video and just go through and do them yourselves, I think you kind of get the point. I'll go through them together in case you want to hang on and listen to the rest. Otherwise, really the thing that you need to know is anytime you write this.props.something, you should stop and write a prop type for it really quickly. The cheesy thing I always say is stop, drop, and prop, and you're going to be in good shape and probably save yourself a headache somewhere down the road where you forget to pass in the right amount of data. So if you are leaving me now, goodbye. I'll see you in the next video. Otherwise, let's keep going through the rest of them. Next up is the add fish form. And we'll say this.props.add fish is 1. So I'm just going to search for the rest. That's it. So add fish is the only one. We're going to go up here. Say static prop types. Always goof up the casing of this. So it's lowercase p, capital case T, and then the package is capital P, capital T. So import prop types from prop dash types. And then we need a prop types dot func. I always make sure I give it a reload and it still works just fine. Good. Let's go through the rest of them. App.js doesn't have any props. You could, well, this dot props, you could assume that the props that match is coming in from the router. So in that case, we could either shape it out for the pieces that we need or just say it's an object. So in this case, I will just say it's an object. Good. And then make sure you import it at the top of your file. I'm going to put it right underneath importing React. Good. So it's app. Edit fish form is next. So we've got this.props.fish, .update fish, and index. So we'll go here. Make this a bit bigger. So what did I say? We got fish, we got index, and we've got update fish. Good. Import my prop types. And then for each of these, I'm going to have prop types dot, and then we'll go through each of them. First one is going to be a shape where the fish will contain, again, this is like kind of the same thing. So you could even put these in their own file and import and export them if you find yourself using it much more often. So fish.js is where I've used those before. Just go ahead and take that entire shape object and paste it in here. Index is going to be a string, and update fish is going to be a func. Good, we're still in good shape. Oh, I got an error on edit fish form on line 14. What did I do? A colon. There we go. Still working good for me. That was edit. We did fish. We did header. Inventory. So this.props.fishes. And we got fishes, update fish, delete fish, and load sample fishes. Lowercase p. So fishes is going to be an array. The rest of them are functions. Oh, we got an error. Invalid. Oh, it's not an array. It's an object. Good. And you could get, of course, you could go a little deeper and shape those out. Not found has nothing. Order. Let's take the prop types package, import that right away. This.props. So we got fishes, we got order, we got remove from order, and that's it. So fishes is going to be an object, order is going to be an object, and remove from order is a func. Still working good. Router doesn't have any props, and store picker needs history. Beautiful. Got all my prop types now being pulled in, and I've made my application a little bit more resilient so that I know that I'm passing in both the right data as well as in the right type of data.